We talk about how the LA Kings have turned into one of the better teams in the NHL with Kings TV analyst Daryl Evans on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and we are on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the last 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. We are happy to welcome back to the show someone who is always enthusiastic about joining us, and that would be former Kings player, current FanDuel Sports Network analyst, Daryl Evans. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram. He is at Daryl Evans 15. Hey, Daryl, how are you?
Happy New Year. All is great. Having a wonderful time here.
Yeah, and the Kings are certainly a big part of that, which is obviously why we've got you here. I was a little surprised that I was looking to see the last time we had you on, and I could have sworn that you were with us at some point during the season, but I don't think so. I think we had you on right before the season, so I'm glad to have you on and get your thoughts on what we've seen so far from the LA Kings. The season started pretty well, but a little bit inconsistent here and there, but things certainly have been going very well for the LA Kings of late. 8-game home winning streak, top 5 team in the NHL in the West in terms of wins and points. They've been top 3 in the division pretty much all season, but have been playing, like I said, better of late. But kind of going back to the start of the season, everybody has their expectations for what this team could be. How do you feel like the Kings have met those expectations so far?
Well, first of all, Eddie, I feel a little slighted because this is the first time you've had me on this calendar year.
That's right. Yes.
2nd of January.
That is a fact.
But no, you know what? I think when you go back to the offseason, when the changes were made, and that started with the coaching staff and then putting a system in place, getting away from the 1-3-1 through the neutral zone. So they were reestablishing the way they were going to play the game. And then you bring in new players in. They knew it was going to take a little bit of time. And I think in the early part of the year, we saw glimpses of it. We didn't see the consistency, but we saw moments. And I think what now is we're starting to see a more consistent hockey club, definitely a team that believes in themselves, believes in the systems that they play. And because of the growth in some young players, they become a deeper team and much more difficult to match up against. So I think it's really, you probably have to sit there collectively as a group, coaching staff, management, players, they've all come together. And I think that's what's spelling success for them right now on the ice.
Well, 11-1-2 in their last 14 games, obviously playing their best hockey so far this season now over the last month or so. Anything specific? Is it just kind of getting used to each other? And as you said, new players coming in, both outside and younger, and meshing as a group? Or is there anything kind of more specific you've seen over this last month or so that's had them playing so well of late?
I think a little bit of, a lot of the things that you said there, but there's no doubt that Quinton Byfield has definitely found a different level than he had in the early part of the year. He'll be the first to tell you that he struggled coming out of the gate. He's now up to, I believe it's 9 goals on the season. So he's starting to find the net on a more consistent basis, scoring some big goals for the team. Warren Fogle has been a real bright spot for the hockey club. He's found himself a place on the team. And, I think, again, just different guys, establishing themselves. We see Turcotte, even though his numbers aren't phenomenal, what he's doing, what he's bringing to the line when he plays with Kopitar and Kempe, allows them to be on the attack, which again allows to the depth of the Kings. I think something that, maybe I don't want to say comes unsuspected, but or unexpected is that the play of the defense, with the absence of Drew Doughty, how collectively as a group they've really come together. And Joel Edmondson has been a great addition to the hockey club. Gavrikoff's ice time's been elevated. He's the ice time leader back on the blue line. Mikey Anderson is, he's found probably on 2 or 3 different occasions he's elevated his game this year to different levels. This past week, this last homestand where the Kings have been at home against the Oilers, Philadelphia, and then against New Jersey, he's finding himself playing 27 minutes a night. So his game has really grown. But I think it's collectively as a group. Again, it's not an individual. we all know that, when you play against, the best teams in the league, they have that depth. They're big, they're heavy. The Kings are a bigger and heavier team than they've been in the last couple of years. Again, going back to the additions that they made with Edmondson back in the blue line, Kyle Burrows, even though he's not a monster of a player, he plays a lot bigger than he is. Up front, Fogle, Jeannot, heavier players, bigger players, a little bit more speed. And then, with the emergence of guys like Hellenius and Andre Lee making their way in, you got two more bodies that are 6'5" and 6'6", and they're still growing into those big bodies. But again, it's a presence out there, more physicality, and with the length that they have, it allows them to take away some passing lanes. So it's a team that's been well put together. There's a lot of glue on this team, and I think that's why they succeed the way they do.
I mentioned the 8-game home winning streak. Obviously, you're with the team home and road. Anything specific you're seeing from the Kings that they're doing better at home than on the road, or any explanation that you got for why they've been so good at home? They haven't been bad on the road, but obviously really exceptional on home ice.
Yeah, we've seen Jim Hiller, go to the 11-7. And I think especially when you're on home ice, having that last line change, you can really use that to your advantage. And it's tough. It's not easy to play 11-7, to first of all, get the 7 guys in the blue line in. Kyle Burrows has done a really good job at accepting his role and providing the energy when he does get out there. But up front, I know even players like Kopitar that, you try to manage his ice, he loves to play. Kempe, Fiala, these guys want to be on the ice. Byfield, he's taken up a lot more ice time than he used to. So I think there's a little bit more trust from the coaching staff and the players when you show something like that you believe in the guys that they can get the thing done. So on home ice, I think Jim Hiller and the coaching staff have done a really good job at making sure they get the favorable matchups that they're looking for. And, right now, you look at the schedule, I know they played a back-to-back the other day, 28th and 29th, but now you go to the first, then you don't go till Saturday and then the following Wednesday again. So these guys are getting a chance to rest up. And, even when the Kings were on the road for that 7-game road trip, that's the way they went, and they still found an energy. So I think the coaching staff's done a really good job at managing minutes with guys, and more importantly, managing their body clocks, their energy, their rest, while they're at home.
Again, talking about this last month, they've taken on some very good competition. You got a win over Winnipeg, who leads the NHL in wins and points. Edmonton obviously was a big win recently. Dallas, Minnesota. There's been some really good competition, and of course, just most recently, New Jersey, very good team out of the Eastern Conference. It seems like of late, certainly they've kind of proven, right, that they can take on some of the top teams in the NHL and definitely handle that.
Yeah, the Kings have been a team over the years. I don't want to, and again, no disrespect to anybody in the league. They've played down to teams that are lower than them in the standings and elevated their games to, when they play the teams that are above them. And obviously, where they put themselves now in a position up amongst the leaders in the NHL, there's not as many teams above them as there are below them. But they're finding consistency in their game now. And I think that shows a sign of growth. They're the older players, guys like Kopitar, and Drew Doughty obviously hasn't been in the lineup yet, but he's back skating. So that's a good sign. Trevor Lewis is getting close to coming back as well. But the presence of those guys, and then now that middle tier, the Kempes, the Denos, the Fialas, they're doing a really good job at leading in that regard. And they're providing a platform for the young guys to be able to grow. These young guys, most of them didn't start when they're 18 years old. They were either in the minors, but now that they've gotten a chance to come up, they understand the system really well. And the older players in the top 2 tiers, through age, they've done a great job at embracing these guys and encouraging them to go out and be themselves. So they're put into a situation where they can succeed. And when you do that, you bring the best out of each other. I mean, and I can't say enough of how well they mesh as a group. And I think, you look at rosters on other teams, and probably a lot of people say the Kings aren't the most talented team. They don't have the best players, but there's something to be said for glue and playing together as a team. And I think that's what really stands out for me with this Kings team.
All right, up next, we're going to get a little bit more into some of the specific players and how they've performed so far this season. We'll do that next during Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, those of us that live here in Southern California, so lucky that we live in a place where we can experience so many live events, sports, of course, but it's not only about sports. You got theater events, concerts, and comedy shows to check out as well. And when you go to those events, no matter where you are, you need to do what I do, and that is use Gametime for all your ticket needs. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks. It makes getting incredible deals on seats even easier. They've got all-in pricing features that show you the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout, and you can check out the vantage point from a panoramic view from the seat from the app before you buy it. You can know exactly the view you're going to get. You obviously also get the lowest price guaranteed, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Download Gametime today, the app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, we continue with Daryl Evans, Kings TV analyst. And Daryl, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned it earlier, but I kind of want to ask you a little bit more specifically about that 11-7 setup with the 11 forwards and the 7 defensemen. Is there anything specifically that is a strength with that? Is it just, maybe the obvious of, you've got an extra defenseman, so I guess they're maybe a little bit fresher as the game goes along defensively. Is there anything, though? Are there any possible weaknesses with it? Are the forwards, is there a chance the forwards could get maybe overused as the season goes on? Anything about that setup that might concern you?
Well, I think, that would be one that you would think that would jump out at you, that maybe, a little bit more wear and tear on guys being 11-7. But I think, with every team, every player, regardless of what position you play, you always, you crave for more ice time. So I think if you show that you can manage yourself, and that's taking care of yourself both on and off the ice, obviously you got to be healthy. There's going to be times in the year when the bumps and bruises are, a little bit more magnified, that you might have to, slip back and go the other way. But I think it's played to an advantage for the Kings because of, I mentioned guys like Kempe, Fiala. They have great engines. These guys, Byfield, they can eat up a lot of minutes. So when you're putting your best players on the ice against the other team, and sometimes it's against their third and fourth units, you put a little bit more pressure upon them. So you force them to maybe use their guys that aren't playing quite as much as your top guys. I think that the top players for the Kings, they understand that the role they're in, and because they've done it for an extended period of time going back into last season, that they are all very familiar playing with each other. I think everybody understands what each person's strengths are and the way they play on the ice, and that allows them to come together as a group when they're on the ice. And I think that the intertwining of all the different guys, like everybody's played with everybody at some point. A lot of guys have played multiple positions, whether it's left and right wing or a wing and a center position. Adrian Kempe, for instance, he's played all 5 positions. He's played forward, all 3 forwards, and both defensive positions, power play, penalty kill. So I think there's a good understanding. And of course, when things are going well, everybody's happy and they're rolling with it. But I think because of guys like Kopitar, Kempe, Doughty, Lewis, the guys that have won and been on the cup teams, I think I threw Kempe's name in there, but he's been around now, those group, for a long time, that they understand on, it's not about the individual stuff. It's what you can do, how you can contribute in different ways. And with success coming because of it, everybody is bought in. And I think when you look at statistically what's going on with the Kings, the way the numbers are spread out, the balance in their scoring, it's great to see. So nobody feels left out in this group. Even the guys that aren't playing and aren't dressing every night, they still feel very much involved because of the way that the group embraces those guys and brings them into the mix.
Quinton Byfield has been a big topic this season amongst fans. Certainly started slow, but has really come on of late. 6 goals, 9 points in his last 8 games. Anything specific that you've noticed with Q of late to why he's been able to get going recently?
Well, the big thing is confidence with a young guy, and the other thing you always look for is consistency. Obviously, over the last couple of years, we've seen glimpses of Quinton. You go, oh my God, like it's amazing. Highlight reel type of goals and great defensive plays, explosive skating, great skater, big long stride, and some great shots. I think when you sign a new contract, everybody looks differently upon you. Everybody. I don't want to say they expect more, but it's kind of what they do. They say, okay, well, now you're getting this kind of money, you should be doing this. And I think sometimes you bring more internal pressure upon yourself that you feel everything that you have to do is statistics. And I think Jim Hiller has explained that to us a couple of times through the course of the year, that he felt that Byfield in different areas was growing his game, taking faceoffs, penalty kill time. He and Warren Fogle have become really quite a pair on a penalty kill, and allowing the Kings to have some great success in that regard. So I think his game has grown in a lot of ways. Of course, he needs to contribute offensively. That's the type of player that he is. There was a time earlier in the year that I think he was trying to fine tune everything. Young guys, they want to put the puck bar down, pipe in, just a perfect shot where just put it on the net, give it a chance. And I think the goal that he scored yesterday against New Jersey was a great example of that. I don't think it was on his stick for more than a half a second, and it was off, and next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. So he's learning. Again, he's only 22 years of age, but right now he's got some confidence in his game. There's a lot of trust in his teammates, and I think the coaching staff's doing a really good job at pushing him and becoming the player that they expect him to be and they want him to be. The other day against the Edmonton Oilers, when he was out on a shift, the Kings iced the puck on 2 occasions, so they couldn't go to the well and bring out Kopitar or Deneau for the face-off, and Quinton Byfield wins 2 draws against Leon Draisaitl in defensive zone. So those are little growth periods. Are we going to see it every moment? Of course we're not. I mean, again, he's still young. Even the best players that have been around for 15 years, they're going to make mistakes, but the mistakes are going to be fewer and further between, and the great plays are going to be, more consistently seen. So he's understanding. He's still growing, but I think he's getting a good feel for the league, the opponents that he plays against, the different styles, and also the demand of the game. Playing 82 games, and whether they're home or on the road, you've got to try to find a way to play at a high level. And he's got somebody great just to turn and look at when he sees Anze Kopitar every day, and look at the consistency that he's played with for over 1,400 games. So he's got something good to use as a measuring stick.
Yeah, speaking of Kopitar, 19th season, 37 years old, and still leading the team in points with 39. It's been a little bit of a narrative. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but it seems like certainly amongst fans and Kings fans and maybe even the media a little bit about Anze Kopitar being underappreciated. And I saw something on social media, and I'll be honest, I don't know when or where it was put out there, but it had a list of the top 20 centers in the NHL, and Kopi wasn't on it. Which I would strongly disagree with. But you travel with the team, you go on the road, you talk to other media people. Do you think Anze Kopitar is underappreciated in the NHL? And if so, why?
I think probably more so by fans in that, on the East Coast that don't get a chance to see him play as much. It's great to see the Kings scheduling this year. There's a lot more games that are being played at, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock here, Pacific time. So people back East get a chance to see him. That comes with the Clippers moving into their own building, so more flexibility with schedule. But I know that when we go around the league, the opposing team's coaches, players that we talk to, and they initiate it. They talk about how much respect they have for Kopitar, the way he plays the game. You look at his numbers in the first 7 years, first 7-8 years of his career, and then the last 7-8 years of his career. They almost mirror each other. I mean, the consistency is phenomenal. He continues to play against the opposition's top players. Face-off circle, he gets better and better all the time. And yesterday, on January the 1st, he took his first penalty of the year. That was his first minor penalty. So just great to see the way he has not fallen off at all. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. We're going to talk about another Kings Hall of Famer in just a second, who we mentioned, who is hopefully coming back soon. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. All right, I want to remind you that FanDuel is here for you during the NFL season. It is America's #1 sports book, and right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Exciting time to be an NFL fan in Los Angeles with both the Rams and the Chargers getting ready for playoff action. It's always a fun time of the year, and you can be a part of it with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we are wrapping it up with former Kings forward Daryl Evans. And Daryl, real quick, I had Mikey Alexander, one of the in-arena hosts for the LA Kings, was on the show the other day, and he wanted me to ask you about your jump rope number for this year. What's that all about?
Well, I've jumped rope consistently every day. I just completed my 8th year of jumping every day. Just completed 12 years of running every day, and he started to do some jump rope, so he got caught up in what I was doing. He was asking me what I was doing, but I know that not this past year, in 2023, I set a crazy goal and exceeded it. I ended up jumping, of course, every day, but I reached 6.1 million jump ropes. And what it equated to was me jumping rope every day, every second of the day for 30 days that year. For 1 month, I jumped one entire month for the year and got to 6.1 million jumps. This past year, I did about 3.5 million. So I jump about 10,000, minimum 10,000 a day, just to keep myself going. Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. So we talked about Anze Kopitar. He's pretty impressive, but there's another Hall of Famer that will be back soon. You mentioned Drew Doughty is skating again. Obviously hurt in the preseason. We haven't seen him all year, which makes what the Kings have done defensively even more impressive. And you mentioned Vladislav Gavrikov, but playing in Drew's spot from the, he's a left-hand shot playing on the right side, which you don't see all that much, but he's handled it wonderfully. But when Drew Doughty comes back, obviously there's going to be a change to make room for him. Any idea how Jim Hiller might handle that? It's a good problem to have to add a Hall of Famer, but with the way Gavrikov's played so well, it also is kind of hard to maybe break up that combo of him and Mikey Anderson. It's
funny. We just finished talking to Jim yesterday after the victory against the New Jersey Devils, and that question was thrown at him, like, what do you do? And, is it a problem? He goes, never a problem when you bring back a guy like Drew Doughty. And, he'll find his way back in, regardless of how they go with the pairings. Only time will tell. Again, we're still a little distance away from there. He's not practicing with the team yet. He's skating on his own. So that'll take some time. But all it does is just gives the coaching staff more options and more flexibility. When you get Drew Doughty in, coming back, and not only he's going to be fully rested, he's got a burning desire to succeed with this group, and he's really taken on a mentorship, with the young defenders, in particular his partner and Mikey Anderson, that he's had pretty much since Mikey came to the Kings. And then when Gavrikov came on board, and he hasn't played in a regular season game with Joel Edmondson yet, but Brandt Clark is another one that he's being a role model for Jordan Spence. So he's excited to get back in there, but I would expect, the first couple of games that he gets in, his ice time, and we joke about it will be cut down to probably 23, 24 minutes, but it won't be long for Drew to tell the coaching staff or let them know that, he's ready to play 27, 28 minutes a night. I think one place it'll immediately impact the hockey club, and where they've really missed him, and again, you can't replace him, is on the power play. There's no doubt, I have real strong belief that just his presence on the power play is going to change the whole complexion of things out there. He's got a great read for what's going on, when to get guys the puck. He's got, obviously, because of the tenure that he's had playing in the league, he's got a lot of respect around the league that guys will kind of cheat towards him, where guys like Brandt Clark, Jordan Spence, they don't get that, that respect yet. So guys close on him real quick. They're real aggressive against them, and every once in a while, those young guys in Clark and Spence, they make phenomenal plays. But Drew's ability to make those plays more consistently still stands out. So I think he's going to have a huge impact on the power play. And to consider the Kings have done what they've done without him on the power play and without his defensive prowess, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. It just goes to show you how strong that the team game plan is, and the approach and the way that everybody's come together collectively as a group to overcome a situation like that. Because there's a lot of people at the beginning when Drew went down, they thought that wasn't a hole that the Kings could cover up. And again, you can't replace guys like that, but collectively as a group, by committee, everybody chips in. And the guys that have really chipped in with regard, especially on that position, have been Gavrikov and Mikey Anderson, and then also the addition of Joel Edmondson.
Daryl, one final question for you. I don't need to tell you this, but 3 straight seasons of first-round exits in the playoffs. Obviously, we've turned the calendar now. We're not quite ready yet to maybe start talking about playoff hockey, but it's not that far away. As it stands right now, do you feel more confident about what you're seeing from this group, how they've been put together, how they're structured, that they are more capable this year than in the past couple of years of finally getting that advance in the playoffs out of the first round this season?
Yeah, I really do. And, it's not because I work with the team or anything like that. I think that when you look at the changes that Rob Blake, management, Luc Robitaille, ownership, when they address things after the season, of course, they weren't happy with, being beat by the Edmonton Oilers again for the third straight year. The players that they went out, they didn't go out and get those, the big name players, the sexy type of players, the flashy guys. They brought in glue players. They felt that they needed to be bigger, heavier, more physicality, and they addressed that. They bring in Tanner Jeannot, Joel Edmondson back on defense, Warren Foegele up front, who's been with the Edmonton Oilers for the last few years. These guys have, Edmondson won a Stanley Cup. Darcy Kemper won a Stanley Cup. Foegele, a lot of playoff experience in his game. So they brought in guys that are going to help them in March, April, May, and then hopefully into June. So I think the Kings are better prepared. Also with the growth of some of their players, again, like a kid like Byfield, definitely a better player than he was, and should be a better player even in a couple of more months than he was last year in April and May when they played in the playoffs. He'll be better. Laferriere, his game's gone to a different level. Adrian Kempe continues to grow as a player. The Danaults, the Kopitars, we know what they bring, and they continue to keep doing that. But Turcotte, his growth in the game. So I think that they have more depth now. I think as they match up, you put 4 lines, or what do you want to call it, 11 forwards or whatever it is. I think the Kings are in a better position to be able to play a pace game with a team like the Edmonton Oilers. And I think, again, it's only one game of the first time that they met during the season, but I think that was one hell of a hockey game that those two teams played just a few days ago. And I think, I think both teams will agree that, Edmonton's made a couple of changes as well. They bring in Victor Arvidsson, and, that they improved their hockey club. So the only way you're going to tell is if you do match up and play against each other. But I think the Kings are definitely on a better trajectory to succeed against, whether it be the Edmonton Oilers or whoever it is in the first round of the playoffs. I think the Kings now have put themselves, they've elevated themselves to a different position. And I think even, you look in goal between the pipes, I think they're in a better position there as well. I think just a little bit more solid in that position as well.
He is Daryl Evans. You can see him and Nick Nixon and Jim Fox all season long on calls for the LA Kings on the FanDuel Sports Network, including this Saturday as the Tampa Bay Lightning come to town. You can follow Daryl on X, Twitter, and Instagram. He's at Daryl Evans 15. Daryl, always a pleasure. Happy New Year. We always appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing you and the guys on the calls here coming up on Saturday.
All right, Eddie, keep up the great work. And again, a happy, healthy, safe, and prosperous 2025 for you. And we'll look forward to catching up with you again in the near future.
All right, Daryl. Thank you so much. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. For you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day. Coming up, of course, on Friday, it's our weekly Kings fan feedback show, your chance to voice your opinions on everything going on with the LA Kings. If you want to get an email in for that, it is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can always leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section, as well as stay interact with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram. We're at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Kings, go.